Welcome, guys, to the Sports Betting Preview Show for August 19th, 2009. And it's a big day here at pregame.com. It's our first video feed of the Sports Betting Preview Weekly Show. So if you guys are on YouTube right now, you know it's video, clearly. If you're listening on iTunes, and we've got over thousands of listeners on iTunes, you can check out the video of this at pregame.tv. That's pregame.tv. And enjoy the iTunes, though, as it is now. Okay, first segment this week is our water cooler talk. And every week we talk about a water cooler segment that is sports betting related, though. Not general news, but sports betting related. This week, Brett Favre, clearly. So first up, I'm going to turn to Marco D'Angelo, who is our GM of picks, as many of you know. Marco, what's your thoughts on Brett Favre?
Well, he fooled a lot of people, but he didn't fool me. I knew Brett Favre was coming back. It was just going to be a matter of when. What he's done to the people in Minnesota and to the teammates, I don't like it. I've lost a lot of respect for Brett Favre. Clearly, just say.
Were you a fan of his before?
Yeah, I was a fan of Brett Favre and what he's done in the last 2 years, and this year even worse. For him to be able to come in and they're going to start him on Friday, they knew what they were doing, and he just didn't want to play. He didn't want to come to camp for the first 2 weeks. Just say that.
All right, so let's get to the sports betting side of things immediately. Vegas Runner, this weekend only, preseason, how does Brett Favre affect the Vikings?
Positive or negative, we're going to find out very quickly. They're putting them right into action.
Now, let's be honest. You're not telling us very much. Yes or no? Is Minnesota better off this week with him?
Absolutely, of course. I mean, the guy's a proven winner. He's going to be better than anything they've put on the field last year. So I think it's a positive. I'm not a Brett Favre fan. I've never been a Brett Favre fan, and I actually thought he was going to finish. I thought it was done. And, you know, me and Marco talked about this on a previous podcast, and I was mistaken. I thought it was only because he was being talked into from players that he was delaying it, that he never wanted to come back. Obviously, I was fooled as well. But on the flip side, as a human being, I can't blame him. He's only 40 years old. I mean, when you're used to from 14 years old being the focal point, the center of attention, it's hard to hang that up. I mean, you know, it's like the guy's 80. At 40 years old, he's not ready to hang it up. It's so hard, I think, after he saw them playing and he thinks he could physically do it, to just walk away.
Here's the question. It's one thing for him to think it. The next question is, and you guys both, Marco, we always joke, has been in the business since 1979. Now think about that a minute, guys out there. 1979. How many quarterbacks in their 40s or even 40 have been even above average?
There's not been many, that's for sure.
Who?
The only guy that I knew that was still that could take snaps after 40, and we're going back, George Blanda.
That was even pre-79.
Wow. I thought he was going to say like Frank Tarkenton, someone I even remember slightly.
Red Grain. All right, so let's stick from your era from 79 on.
It just doesn't happen, you know.
So VR is, if we have a history of saying, and again, do you agree with that? It has not happened.
No, it hasn't, and I agree. It's not going to be an easy task, but what I'm saying
is it an upgrade?
I think it is. I think from what they put on the field last year, because I followed them, the Vikings. I mean, we all followed football religiously. I saw nothing from the quarterback position, regardless of who was there. The defense got it done. Or the running back. The quarterback position did absolutely nothing for them.
Okay, so let's think about this. Is you're saying it's not so much Favre is going to even be above average. You're saying that Jackson last year or whomever was maybe 25th in the league, and maybe Favre's going to be 15th this year.
Exactly. I don't expect him to come in and be in Honolulu come February. I mean, let's not go that far. But this is a strong team. This team won 11-5. They won the division. They got to the playoffs. They held a home game against the Philadelphia Eagles, which they were favored in. So he's stepping into a good situation. He's never had running backs like this. You know, he's got an offensive line now, they're saying, in Minnesota. All this talk about how bad he's performed on turf or in the dome, it was a road game. No one's going to do well there.
That's a key
point. They're saying, you know what I mean? So
another point that people aren't pointing out, with him being in the dome, which they're regarding it as a negative. It's not, because if you look at the last 2 years that Brett Favre played, he had a horrible December last year. That's outdoors. His arm was shot at the end of the year. He played outdoors in New York. It's cold. Look at the last year in Green Bay. That was one of the best years that Favre ever had, was his last year in Green Bay. That playoff game, he was horrible. And you looked at his eyes on the sideline of that playoff game. He didn't want to be out there in that cold weather.
Okay, so that was brought up on the radio today, is that when they look at the schedule, the only really legitimate cold game the whole year looks to be a late road game of Chicago. So I think that's a very good point. The Dome at this time of his career might be helpful. So let's get down to some specifics. One is, you said 15th best quarterback in the league this year. Is that your estimate?
I think he will, absolutely.
What's your estimate, Marco?
I think he's going to start out as the 15th best quarterback. The question's going to be, where's he going to be at the end of the year, when they need him most, when they're projecting themselves to be in the playoffs.
All right, so what's your gut feeling? You're thinking he'd be trending down.
Yes, like last year.
I think bottom line is, if he doesn't try to do too much, the reason he had a great year with Green Bay that final year is Grant came up, he stepped up, and all of a sudden evolved, and other players stepped up, and Brett didn't try to do too much. The playoff game you're referring to, he did try to do too much. He tried to force the ball. He tried to win it by himself. When he did that on the New York Jets is when the team collapsed. Early on, when he didn't have that confidence, when he wasn't that, the boss of the Jets, they were winning. They were playing as a team. As soon as everybody started telling Brett how great he is at age 39, how he's throwing all these touchdowns, he tried to do it all by himself. That's when the interceptions come. That's when he tries to do things he was able to do when he was 25.
And I think that's a consensus, is that if he plays within himself, he's always better. So let's drill down to some specifics. One, at pregame.com, we did some original reporting on some Vegas numbers with this. So let's look at that real quick. One is on the futures, the odds were 20-1 with Minnesota. Once Favre came back, they moved to 17-1. So they're saying Favre would be a positive factor on the futures. Now, what's interesting, if you think about it, and this is something that I talked about on ESPN LA yesterday, and Colin Cowherd was actually talking about our stats today, and USA Today. So we had some really good exposure out there for pregame.com, is that most of the action on futures is square action. It's the guys that are betting $20 on their gut feeling. So the bookmakers are saying, hey, the squares are considering Favre to be an upgrade. But if you actually look at the team win totals, they were 9.5 for the Vikings before Favre, and 9.5 now that Favre is back. So the wise guys who bet more of the team totals and not futures are saying no effect. So one, let's ask that question to both of you guys, is on the future bets or the team totals, is Favre a net positive, negative, or neutral?
That's exactly, and I'm glad you brought that up. Futures, they know that the general public is going to bet a future bet. Guys that like Minnesota are going to go up and bet them, especially now that they got Favre. So they're going to adjust them lines. The wise guys bet the season totals, like you said. They're taking a wait-and-see approach. The words I heard being down at the Strip yesterday, everyone was talking about it. No one was making a move. The bottom line was, how healthy is he? And how's he going to look with that team running that offense?
So we got the factors down. You're saying it's a net neutral to the wise guys.
Yeah, nobody's rushing to the window, RJ, to say they're going to be better or they're going to be worse as far as the sharp money's concerned.
Marco.
We're going to wrap up this first segment pretty quick. I think they improve. There is no dominant team in the NFC. I would bet the game. I would bet them over the 9.5 win total.
All right, there you go. I'm actually inclined to say neutral myself. This has been segment number 1. Now, segment number 2 is going to be talking about big game previews. And if you're watching on video, you can get all this at pregame.tv. We'll be right back.